All right. So, Farm to Power, we are very happy to be sharing today with our partners at the American Farmland Trust. We have Katie and Greg with us today to share about their program and what they're offering. Looks like we have a few more people joining in. Awesome. Just again, our chat is going to be disabled, but you are welcome to ask any questions in the Q&A or send a message to Rachel and myself. So Farm to Power as an organization, we are a nonprofit, nonpartisan group. We're not affiliated with any direct developers, but we work to support farmers, ranchers, and landowners through the process of building renewable energy. So as renewable energy systems, increase and continue to grow, especially throughout our region, we prioritize the voices and opinions of those who are most directly impacted by these projects, primarily our agricultural community. A large focus on this is the economic benefits that our agricultural community is able to receive through these projects, but also their voices and opinions through the development of these processes and these projects as they come about.
So what is Farm to Power? We are building a community of farmers, ranchers, growers, ag producers, and rural community voices willing to take a stand to support clean energy projects and their voices and platforms and encourage others in the agricultural community to do the same.
Nice. So some of you guys may be familiar with our organization already, or this is the first time that you're hearing about it. We primarily, Rachel and I work within Arizona. I focus on Southern Arizona, and Rachel is our state director for Arizona
And New Mexico.
and, and New Mexico as well. Um, and we focus to create a community and a coalition of these farmers and ranchers that we're working with to be able to empower them, also share educational resources through the development of these renewable projects. Rachel, you can speak a little bit more on what you do, but my primary focus is as a field organizer. So I meet and share stories of the farmers that we work with to be able to influence their communities, as well as policy making and decision making at the local level.
Yes, and also we're here to support the economic benefit that comes from farming and ranching and still basically still incorporating agriculture in with renewable energy. And we're hoping in a future where they're not competing, where the farmer and rancher is able to still do both and make money with the renewable energy. And as a state director, I build relationships with partners across many sectors in agriculture between nonprofits, governments, associations, really things, building relationships with that so we can help promote this, not just this message, but share stories so that way people can really understand the possibilities for the future.
Mhm. So we are a growing nonprofit. We're fairly new within the past 2 years. Again, Rachel and I focus here in the Southwest within Arizona and New Mexico, but we also operate in other regions of the US, including Wisconsin, and other Midwest states as we expand and grow. We
So,
primarily,
oh, go
you
ahead.
can continue. No, go ahead.
So, why do we exist? We really believe that ag operations can coexist beneficially with renewable energy, and building more clean energy projects is key to securing a stable energy and economic future for the country.
Yeah, so as again, these more and more renewable energy projects continue to expand within our country and also our region here in Arizona and New Mexico, we think that it's extremely important to include these communities in the conversation of development, include them in the development itself, to prioritize economic benefits, to prioritize um, public land use as well as our private agricultural land use. And we have a large emphasis on agrivoltaics, meaning the dual use of both agriculture and this renewable energy generation. So typically, we are focused on wind and solar projects. We have worked with a lot of farmers and ranchers so far to be able to share their opinions, farmers and ranchers who have existing projects on their land, or in potentially some of your guys' cases, farmers and ranchers who are interested in developing these projects on their land. So yeah, we advocate and support our agricultural communities through these projects. We host educational events. We're beginning our webinar series now. This is new for us here in the Southwest. We are also working on a newsletter development to be able to continuously share resources and stories a little bit more directly to our community and our coalition. And this is to help develop a wide range of voices and a wide range of participants through this process. So here are some photos. These aren't us specifically here in the Southwest, but some of our colleagues. Oh, here is a photo of Rachel here at some of our conferences. But yeah, you'll find us kind of across the state. I'm mainly here in the Southwest region of Arizona. These are a few more examples of some of the work that we do as far as story sharing. So we'll collect testimonials through video or through interview to be able to share on social media. This includes Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and other social media platforms to be able to share the opinions of those that we're working with. And this is kind of like the first step in our work. So we tend to try and expand this to policy making through bringing out our coalition and our community to local hearings, planning and zoning board hearings for projects to be able to share their interests, their concerns. Here are a few more examples of our story focus that we share. So this also helps to familiarize community members with, their community renewable energy project expansions and agrivoltaic use. Here's a few more examples. Often this helps in changing misinformation opinions, as well as expanding general knowledge on this process and its impacts.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Cassidy, for introducing Farm to Power. And we are so excited to introduce our speakers. So we have Katie Field and Greg Plotkin from American Farmland Trust. And American Farmland Trust is one of our partner organizations. Now, we are able to uplift the voices of farmers and ranchers and share why they support renewable energy, but we actually are not technically, we don't necessarily do technical assistance, but some of our partners do. So that's why we're happy to introduce American Farmland Trust and their project called AGRI-Tech. So a little bit about each speaker. Greg Plotkin serves as a senior manager for the Smart Solar Outreach and Engagement for American Farmland Trust. He's a seasoned nonprofit professional with more than 20 years of experience helping to lead environmental conservation, agriculture, and food system development organizations. In his current role as a senior manager for Smart Solar Outreach and Engagement, he oversees efforts to educate and engage agricultural audiences in American Farmland Trust's Farmer First solar development projects. And Katie serves as American Farmland Trust Smart Solar Program Coordinator, supporting the growth and advancement of smart solar principles and program strategies. Her role requires her work across the national and regional smart solar program teams, as well as with external partners, including grant funded farmers, landowners, service providers, and professionals in the solar, agricultural, and farmland protection sectors. Prior to this position, she worked within the nonprofit sector in the local farm advocacy and advancement, and previously provided farmer technical assistance with the NRCS. So thank you guys both for being here.
Okay.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel.
I'm gonna share my screen so we can get into it. Let's see. Let me see about presenting. Can you see that?
Yes.
Thank you. Great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having us. We're excited to share about one of the programs that we are working on. As Rachel mentioned, it's entitled AGRI-Tech, which is actually an acronym for Agrivoltaics Growth Through Resilience and Innovation Technical Assistance. I won't quiz you guys on that. A little bit about American Farmland Trust and kind of the work that we do. We're a national nonprofit serving farmers and ranchers since 1980. Our mission is to save the land that sustains us. We do this by advancing three equally important goals: protecting farmland, promoting sound farming practices, and keeping farmers on the land. And this kind of falls into that. I wanted to kind of give a brief overview of what to expect in our presentation. We're going to be setting the stage on kind of what agrivoltaics is, what it looks like. We'll do a program overview of the AGRI-Tech program, and then we'll get into an application walkthrough where I'll go through the application and what it looks like. And then we'll open it up for questions at the end. So if you have anything, please write it down and keep it on the top of your mind as we go through this presentation. So kind of setting the stage and why AFT is engaged in this whatsoever is that there is Department of Energy has estimated that we'll need more than 10 million acres to scale up to solar energy by 2050. And as a conservation farmland organization, we have done some research to see kind of our expectations of how that land is going to be sited. And AFT has projected that over 80% of that solar energy could be sited on agricultural lands. We can see this as a conflict and an opportunity. We believe that America needs both renewable energy and productive, resilient farm and ranches. And so because of that, we created our Smart Solar program back, I think, starting the work around 2018 and really gearing it up the last couple of years. We developed 4 equally important goals or principles through the SMART principles. I'm not going to go through each of them. We're going to focus primarily on our principle 3, which is growing agrivoltaics for agricultural production and solar energy. Kind of breaking it down, what is agrivoltaics? Well, we kind of think of it as the co-location of solar energy and growing or grazing underneath an array or between an array. So you're creating an agricultural product throughout the life of the project. It can look and comes about in many different forms. This is a great example from the National Lab of the Rockies that they've created, showing large livestock grazing, commodity crops, solar greenhouses, kind of specialty crops, and some of the different solar arrangements that you can see in the array types. So there's definitely very many different farms. We're seeing that actually come into fruition in many different ways, including primarily, I would say 90% of what we're seeing is sheep grazing as of right now, because it's one of the easiest things to start and get a hold of. And a lot of the time you don't need to retrofit a pre-existing solar array to be able to graze. It actually allows for a lot of tenant farming opportunities, as well as business models of grazing versus mowing under an array. But we're also seeing other things. We're seeing cattle being put into in with panels, and there's several different research projects happening, and then we're actually seeing it kind of on a production scale with a couple of our producers that we know. This is a picture from the Blue Wave site in Massachusetts. We're seeing specialty crops being grown under panels. So on the left, that's broccoli being grown, and on the right, I think it's tomatoes or eggplants. And so we're seeing this come to fruition in different ways. We don't see some of these things just yet, but they're going to come online. So including raising the panels up over orchards. This is really popular in other countries, including France and Germany. We are going to be seeing a site being built in Colorado, actually currently. It's under construction over a pre-established peach orchard. So we're looking at different commodity types and creating arrays that work for that. Same thing with vineyard. A couple different things. We have like a vertical bifacial on the left, as well as a raised single axis tracker array on the right. And this is on the right is the new agrivoltaic site at Colorado State University, which is pretty neat. Why are we engaging? Why is agrivoltaic super important? It's providing shelter to farm workers, livestock. It can provide shelter to crops from drought and extreme heat. It can conserve water. We're seeing reduced water intake from crops and water efficiency, and livestock can consume less water because they're not getting as hot under the panels. And then the most important, I would say, in our eyes, is the farm viability aspect. The ability to diversify revenue, enable land access, and support beginning and underserved farmers, as well as, we know when it comes to farming and ranching, it comes down to bottom line and economics. And how can we create another diversified income stream, whether it be offsetting, behind the meter, or an additional farm solar lease? To kind of break down those models as we kind of go into this. We're seeing primarily 2 or 3 models. The solar leasing model, which is a third party owned by solar developer, in which a landowner engages with the solar company to lease the land. That's a steady payment over the course of the project. So typically those projects can occur between 25 to 40 years. And there's an option as a landowner to negotiate an agrivoltaics under the panels, and there's companies that are doing that. And then if you have larger production capacity or processing and you have high energy costs, and more, I think a lot of states' energy costs are rising, it might make financial sense to put on an on-farm behind the meter, which would cover the on-farm energy costs and is primarily primarily expensed by the landowner. So that would be the upfront cost of that. And then the other kind of third option we're seeing, which doesn't really pertain to this project necessarily, is a tenant farming option, where potentially a landowner might want to engage in agrivoltaics projects, but they're non-operating, and so they're looking for someone to come in and graze. Or you have the solar grazing model, in which you are operating under solar developers to take those grazing contracts instead of mowing. So that kind of set the stage as to what agrivoltaics is. And now I want to go into what AGRI-Tech is, and as a program, why we think agrivoltaics is important and why we want to provide technical assistance. So AGRI-Tech is the first of its kind comprehensive technical assistance program focused on agrivoltaics, not just any other solar or energy. It's the combination of agriculture under solar. Our main goal is to advance projects. We want individuals that are participating in our cohort to be able to build a project after this. So whether it be taking a step, having the design aspects, we want to be able to make sure that we're promoting agrivoltaics and making it a viable option for landowners and other individuals. This is led by the National Lab of the Rockies. We are their partner in this. So there's some great technical experts on the team. we're offering to cohort participants up to 100 free hours of technical assistance. This comes about in a couple different ways. It's direct one-on-one TA, as well as webinars to focus on like cohort peer learning through a bunch of different topics. So including, how do utilities and solar developers work? Let's navigate kind of local land use and government. We have specific agriculturally tailored webinars, including soil testing, pollinator habitat, how to kind of reach out and build strategic partnerships and collaborations, and more informal talks as well to kind of gain a relationship with your cohort. The products that come out of this are kind of a siting evaluation, a techno-economic analysis. So we're looking at the viability of this economically for your operation based on kind of the information that you give, the size of the array that you're wanting, what you're going to be growing. Are you elevating panels? We're looking at shading analysis, which also kind of comes in hand with the crop compatibility aspect. We're providing specific tailored farmer resources to your operation, soil health, peer-to-peer learning. So there's a lot of different avenues for learning in this. And this is one of those programs that you kind of get out of it what you put in. And so if you are really engaged and want to learn and have specific elements to this, then you are going to get that from us as experts. We're going to put effort in to meet your needs. Now, who's eligible to apply? Farmers, producers, landowners, tribes, local governments, NGOs, academic institutions, even utilities. That's kind of a very broad group, but I think specifically we know that applicants must have site control. So part of the application we'll see is kind of what site do you have in mind? How many acres is it? Are you the decision maker on that land? And you have to be located within the United States or Puerto Rico. Those are kind of the two broad umbrella eligibility. I provided kind of the information to the application. I'm sure that Rachel will share this as well, but this is the QR code that just links you directly to the application. Our next application deadline is coming up in 2 days, but don't worry, it's not the most the scariest application. You could probably fill it out in the next 2 days and be completely fine. But I also wanted to let you know that this isn't the last cohort. We will have an additional cohort applications open up, I think, later in this year, probably around summertime. I did put in Dr. Dana Marie Thomas's contact information. She goes by DM, but she, if you have any very specific technical questions about this, she is going to be your project lead for this. And then I'm also putting up Greg and I's contact information if you have specific information that you want to reach out to us directly. As of that, I'm going to open up the application and kind of go through it and share my screen there. Can you see that? Great, awesome. Okay, so it's a pretty general Microsoft form. It will close kind of end of business day on January 31st, and they'll start collecting applications. We will go through a review process before March 1st and let the selected cohort members know. This is a competitive process. There isn't that many individuals that we let into this, just given the amount of technical service that we are providing. But we'll go through this. I'm going to just pretend that I'm a farm, and I'm going to fill it out as a farmer. As an individual, I'm going to come down to organization type. I'm going to look through this, what kind of best describes me. I would say I'm an individual agricultural producer versus if you're an NGO, fill it out as that, university, therefore. This is really important, providing a site address. This is kind of, I'm just going to type in pretend area. And then also to know what your utility service provider is. I know I'm located in California, so I know mine is PG&E. We're going to need to know that information as we go into the analysis for your site. It helps us determine what rates, how much we're going to be able to sell your power back to, especially given if you are looking at kind of more of a behind the meter. We're looking at net metering and some of the policies within the state. If you are the primary representative that's going to be going through this, put your specific information. We have allowed other individuals like in a group. So say you're from an organization and you have like a couple farmers that are, or a couple individuals that are taking part in this project, they're going to be part of each of these calls. So even though you're the primary representative on the application, that doesn't mean that you, once you're selected, it's only you going through this, if that makes sense. Okay, and then something that's going to be a very specific need is this willing to commit approximately 2 to 4 hours per month. And we are asking this because we will be scheduling direct TA call or like direct TA calls with you. We're going to be scoping your project directly, as well as having direct deliverable calls on one-on-one. And so that's kind of some project check-ins as we continue to work through the deliverables on our end. And so there's that, and there's also the additional like webinars and lightning talks and that peer-to-peer learning. It's better, again, the more that you put into it, the more you get out of it. If you are able to commit, like that's what I would say. This is kind of where there's some storytelling. This is not where there's storytelling. This is where, do you have site control? Yes. I am primarily the decision maker of this. And then if you need additional contact, so if you have an additional person that you want to be in the know about your application, provide that information. I'm going to go ahead and say no, so we can go on to the actual like meat of the application. These are kind of where we're really wanting you to build out your narrative. What's your agrivoltaic site? What's the topography look like? Is it hilly? Is it flat? Where's the water? Is it in a marshland? Like, those are specific things that we're going to need to know as we go through this, so we can cite your project on the specific part of land that makes the most sense. We want to know if you're already you already have a pre-existing agricultural system, or if you don't, what are you envisioning as this? Is it going to be a specific specialty crop or specialty crop operation? Are you grazing currently livestock? We want to be able to build that into your project, and the more that you tell us about your site, the easier it is for us to kind of visualize what that's going to look like. And then as we move forward, we will collect more information if you are selected as a participant in the cohort. That includes like electric bills, things like that, so that we know what your energy use and demand is, and so that they can scale a project to that. We want to know who owns the land, or is it leased? And if it is leased, do you have landowner permission to build a project? And then I'm just going to type some stuff so I can move on to the next. And then so if you are not an agricultural producer, do you have an agricultural producer in mind? If you're not going to be the one that's farming the project, who are you bringing in? And that way we can actually like help with that too, in that guidance with that producer. So, or you can say like, yes, I am the producer. Or if not, who do you have in mind? Or part of that application can be, I don't have a producer in mind. Would you please like help me with that? The more information we know, the better. Will the power. So this is kind of the question. Is it going to be a behind the meter project? or are you looking to sell offsite? So I'm going to say I'll show you both options. I'm a large energy consumer. I want to build a project based on your energy bills. If you have the information, it's not required. Put your annual usage. And then we're getting into kind of project specific questions. Are you knowledgeable of agrivoltaics? If so, how knowledgeable? And then what stage of the project are you? Have you already started engaging with your utility? Have you made partnerships? That will kind of tell us like what stage you're in, and then provide like additional detail to that. We will look at specific challenges you're facing, and then we also want to know, have you looked for funding yet? Are you looking at research efforts or other like workforce development opportunities for that? So say you want to like create an agrivoltaic site as a demonstration project. We want to know that. Just put like what you're envisioning for that. And then any other individuals that you're collaborating with and that we should know about. So that's that option versus the sold to a separate off-taker is the same questions except for, do you know who your potential buyer is? Are you going to be utilizing like your utility? What does that look like? And so those are kind of the application questions. They are pretty straightforward, but I think now is the time to kind of open it up to questions if you're ready, Rachel.
I think so. Thank you so much, Katie and Greg. We don't have any in the Q&A, so then we'll just open it up if anybody does have any questions, and then we can go ahead and raise your hand and we can unmute you. Okay, Monica. Thank you, Monica. Let's see. Let's see. Oh,
There we go.
okay.
I was wondering, will we, first and foremost, thank you for this presentation. Secondly, will we be able to get a copy of the presentation that was just shown? Because that was very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I can send, I can follow up with Rachel and send her my slide deck, and that would have all the information.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Monica. And
You're welcome.
And we're so glad you made it here. And we are also recording, so we should be able to share this recording.
Great. Thank you so much.
And then I invited you. There you go, Art. Wonderful.
Hi. Thank you for doing this. I'm just to understand whether I should be applying for this or not. I'm in the very beginning of, wanting to see about putting solar panels. I'm a producer and a landowner, but I haven't reached out to like APS, which is the power company in the area. And then I have National Forest between me and a high tension line. Is it appropriate for me to apply for this, or do I need to do more research before I apply for this?
I would say it is appropriate for you to apply. I think like just outline that in your application. I think that it seems like you are knowledgeable of what you can and cannot do, and are more knowledgeable than some of them when you know who your utility is. And so as long as you have an idea of kind of your energy usage on your site, that's really helpful moving into the program. But I would say, like, we, as part of the technical assistance that we're delivering, we can work with you on how to go about approaching your utility and things. That's part of some of the webinars. You don't have to have done that work prior, but it helps us when it comes to like planning your project and doing the design elements and such. If you have an idea of like what exactly your constraints are, that's helpful when we're providing you an example of your design.
Thank you, Katie. And then Art, I remember meeting you and talking about your project, specifically that you are looking to do. And I think this is like a perfect opportunity. So there's been a few people that have really reached out to us at Farm to Power and are really serious about their operation and what they're trying to do. And I really remember your conversation, Art. So I'm really glad you're here. Okay, Monica.
Yeah, sorry, I always have a lot of
Oh,
questions.
okay.
Are you able to help on the permitting side of things? Because I think that probably would, I feel would probably be a pinch point for me, would be permitting in Pima County, which is here in southern Arizona. Is there any kind of background work that I could start doing? Like, I know my zoning, I'm very familiar with that, but is there anybody that can help me on the planning side of things that you guys would be able to help with now? Because I'm in the pre-stages of purchasing land that will be mined on, and I do want to do stuff on the back meter side of things. So I'm just wondering if you guys can help out with permitting, or if there's something that I could do to get myself ahead of the curve on that.
Sorry, did you want to answer that or did you want me to?
Sure, I can answer that. So I think, as Katie mentioned, one of the most important factors in selection for the AgriTech cohort is current control of the land. And so if you haven't actually purchased that land yet, your project wouldn't necessarily be a great candidate for this current cohort. However, we're going to have multiple other ones starting this summer and then next spring. So I'll start with that. However, if you are selected in the future to be part of this co-fund, our experts can give you advice on how to approach permitting in your locality. I don't think they're going to be able to help with, you should reach out to this person in your county permitting office. I don't think that's the level of granularity that we'll be able to get to through this type of technical assistance program. But I think folks can position you in terms of the information you'll need, the documents you'll need to put together, ways to position yourself for success throughout the permitting and siting processes that, as a cohort member, we would be able to help you with. And I hope
Great.
that answers your question.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think to Greg's point, it's primarily the product that we're providing a package of here's everything that we've thought through, and now you can go and talk to your utility and go and talk to your permitting agency, whether it be the county planning commission or whatever, and have like these pre-existing documents and plans in place. Some individuals who have gone through our last one have had some of those conversations already, but that's not required for this. But as Greg did mention, having a piece of land that you have site control on is, I will say, I don't want to say it's like one of the most important, but it is kind of the most important part of our scoring.
And then just so you guys know, so thank you guys all for signing up and coming, and we will let you guys know about future webinars as well. And we do have a different partner who does provide legal advice for solar projects, Monica. So I wanted to share that with you. So this is the part one of our series. So there will be more. It is really, I don't want to say it's so niche, but it is a big deal, when you're gonna go into permitting and all of those things. And so they are not only like advocacy, but it is like the legal end, and it is lawyers, and they do support like development in that sense. And again, it's not really coming from us. It's a different organization, but we'd love to connect you as well, Monica, whenever you're ready. Any other questions?
Katie, can you talk a little bit about like the scaling scope that you guys are looking for? Is there a limit to the size that you are looking for these kinds of like planning projects?
No, we're not. There's no size that we're looking at. There is like, maybe a little bit too small or too large. Sometimes we want it to maybe be able to fit in with the production model that you already have if you are a producer, or within like the townier landscape that you're working in. And so sometimes when we're looking at really small projects, we know it's not going to pencil out, and so it's going to be really hard to provide numbers that are like so in the red. And on the large scale, it's kind of like, how are you going to work with a producer? So there's not really a specific scale of projects, but just knowing what's going to work best in your operation or on your side, on your land, and note with the knowledge that sometimes the what we're going to tell you is probably, maybe rooftop is better than a actual, ground mounted solar array, depending on what scale you give us. So if you have a good amount of acreage, for example, I can kind of talk about like a project that we think is going to go through, and he has about 100 acres. He's going to be doing livestock grazing under 100 acres that he controls in Texas, and we believe that that's great. And then on the smaller side, we have a couple projects that are with high energy users that can directly offset. And so there are smaller projects that will help. Something to also note actually on that is we are having a hard time navigating conservation easements on land. And so if you have a conservation easement currently on your parcel of land, it might make it so a project doesn't pencil, even with all the work, and it might not even be able to develop depending on your conservation easement language. So we did have one individual within our last cohort who has a conservation easement, but we don't believe that the project will move forward just given the language in that easement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to add something. So when I specifically purchased my land, I really wanted to do development. And I think there's a lot of steps that people don't realize, which a lot of the times, if you're trying to do a project, there's usually multiple parties involved. So it's very kind of rare that people are just and done with one individual. And in New Mexico, for example, they also have community solar. So there's large scale, there's I'm saying it wrong, but there's individual, a homeowner, rooftop solar. And then there's also community solar, which is in New Mexico, which is a different version, which is selling also back to the grid. Now, I reached out in Arizona, at least we do have cooperatives, and then there's larger scale utility providers. And I reached out to my cooperative and I was asking them questions, and they were so small that they said they've never actually produced enough energy for their consumption. And so they then I just kept asking a lot of questions, and they said, this isn't something we've ever done or are doing right now. But then they kind of contacted me, and then they said, but we're not closed off to things in the future. So, it's really interesting. Agrivoltaics is leading the way. It's I don't want to say leading the way. It's we are pushing the way through. You know what I mean? We're trying to create a new way involving agriculture and renewable energy. So it's creating the forefront of it. So it starts with a plan. Everything starts with a plan. And that's to me what this technical assistance is creating the plan for your goals and what you're doing. And it's not the money, but to get the money or figure out how you're going to do it, you need a plan first. So there's many stages to these projects because they're so involved. So we're really grateful for all that you guys are doing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions coming in? And you guys also, we have our emails that we can share, and we'll make sure to share Katie and Greg's email again with you all as well.
I'll just add one thing before we wrap up. So for those of you that don't know, American Farmland Trust is a land conservation organization. And the way that we approach this work in solar is from a farm viability perspective, right? We know that going solar on a piece or part of your land can provide the alternative passive income that you need as a landowner to actually keep that land in agriculture and in the family And so I think the point I want to make is that we're not saying that solar is a silver bullet. We're not saying solar is right for every landowner, every piece of land, but it is an important tool in the toolbox in order for farmers to be able to make a living and keep doing what they love, is growing food and raising animals. So if it helps to think about it within that context, it's, we're not here as solar evangelists solely. We're here really with the interest of farmers and rural communities at the heart of what we do.
Yeah, thanks for that, Greg. And I think that, we with Farm to Power do share a similar sentiment in that we're advocating for the farmer interest, the landowner interest above all. Um, well, thank you guys so much. This was very informative. And I'm so happy that you guys were able to share this and join us today. We may be wrapping up a little bit earlier than 5 p.m. if we don't have any more questions. I'll give it a few more seconds if something comes to anybody's mind. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for joining us. We will make sure to be sharing more information on webinars in the future. And yeah, thank you so much to Katie and Greg again.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Okay, well, in that case, I will leave it off to Rachel if you have anything else to add, Rachel.
No, thank you guys so much. Everybody, thank you guys for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all again in the future.
All right. Take care, you guys. Have
Bye,
a
everyone.
Thank you.
good